everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shooting the Shift. Everybody's here. That's Matt. That's Milton.
Hello.
That's Bryn.
Hi.
And most importantly of all, some dude right out here is called William. So, but this is a genuine thing. So me and Matt went to Pit Stop Social on Wednesday night. And the video's probably already up by now on the channel because I've edited like a demon at the weekend and uploaded it straight away. And this young guy called Will walks up to me and Matt and says he religiously watches Shooting the Shift.
Oh, hi, William.
Hi, Will.
Hello.
I think I'm going to embarrass him slightly here because I think his exact words were he saw us and then he was like fangirling in his head.
So
we can all sign a pair of Bam's knickers.
Okay, yeah, fuck it.
Are they shorter in real life than you thought they were?
I'm short anyway. Still taller than you though.
I think I might actually be the tallest of the three of us.
I think so.
No, I'm taller than you.
How tall are you?
5'8".
I'm 5'10", GTFO, shut up, boy wonder.
How tall are we in Brins?
Oh, God. 1.2.
Actually, on the subject of weighing things in Brins, I have lost a kilogram. I am back on the diet, back in the gym, for those of you who follow me on Instagram.
That's more weight than I've lost recently.
5%? No. I can't
I've put weight on.
2% of a Brin.
I mean, Milton, if you lost any weight, you'd disappear.
Believe it or not, I'm almost 11 stone. I'm a little fatty boom boom.
He has not got bird bones.
So much heavy in that tiny, tiny noodle body.
It's from here down.
You must be incredibly dense.
Right. Anyway. They don't want to hear about our weight loss efforts. That's definitely an episode we've done before. So sorry everybody got off track. This week, you've noticed the theme the last few weeks. We've kind of been talking about why are car prices going so mental, what we would buy at the moment. We made sure that even though Bryn wasn't here, we did mention a certain Lexus.
Hang on, is that a sign? We mentioned the Lexus.
We don't know yet. He's still refusing to confirm or deny these rumours.
Well, whoever's watching it will already know.
Yeah.
Probably.
Because
this is filmed in the past compared to when you're watching it in our future.
Yeah.
Time travel.
Yeah.
And bam, one of the blue boys is going to make sure he goes and gets it. So.
And it is blue. I mean, if it exists, it's blue.
If it exists. Now we've got... Right. So if Bryn's not with us next week, what's happened is it didn't exist. And, well, the banjos the banjos were played. Ding, 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 ding. So we've been doing this little series about car prices. And there's a natural thing that happens when prices go mental, boys.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a bubble. And they do burst. Kind of like...
That's good. Nah, that's not true. What about E-types? That bubble never burst.
Stonks. So you get the odd exception to the rule, but if you think about used car prices in general at the moment, as we discussed, thanks to this chip shortage, the prices are going up. Now,
I'm just thinking in terms of like the E-type. I think the R34 is going to stay up there. They're getting imported into America now.
I think it'll come down a little bit.
It's not going to be a lot, though. But I think generic second-hand stuff will drop.
Absolutely.
Normal people cars, I'm with you.
Yeah, normal people cars, I think, is going to drop. But
Like the Bentley Turbo R that I was looking at today on my lunch break. I want one.
But like,
I was
going to say,
but I can't justify it as a. I was looking at them, right, boys, and I was going to try and justify this Bentley Turbo R as my new daily driver for work.
Because you need another one.
It does worse miles per gallon than the Stage.
Yeah, that's because it's a Bentley. I once went to a lecture by some of Bentley's design engineers.
Of course you went to a bloody lecture.
Oh, mate, it was
You
well
went to
done.
university?
But one of the things that they said is a weird thing that happens in luxury car brands is that no matter how good technology gets, you can't have a smaller engine than your competitors. So it doesn't need to be 7 litres or whatever they are anymore, but they couldn't make a smaller one because people would want it less.
Is that how they ended up with 3/4? Was
Yeah.
the 6 3/4 litre engine, did they make that because their competitor made a 6.5 litre engine?
Honestly, that's probably how it went.
I mean,
I just love the fact that they didn't go with points. They went with 3/4.
so back on topic. Sorry, that's my fault. I did that one. I apologise, viewers. But if Bryn's getting a new car, then I have to compete and have my own blue boy that's bigger.
Yeah.
I've had my new car. It's Bryn's turn next, then bam, and then it's Milton.
No, it goes. No, Matt. I think you'll find this rotation goes you, Bryn, me, you, me, Bryn.
Hey, I got my car in August last year.
Yeah,
August, June.
First, with your weird boot lights, but that's another off topic.
But do you know I've done 30,000 miles in that car in 1 year?
I did that in mine.
I've got an idea, Bryn. Right? If you get the GS and I get a Bentley, we should have a Battle of the Barges drag race.
I can't afford that battle. You've seen the fuel economy of a Lexus.
I'll pay your fuel.
Is it the V8 one?
I'll pay for both of our
Not a
fuel.
V8. Wash your mouth out. I bought a 2J because I'm a real man.
GE, yeah?
Confirmed. Bryn's bought a GS.
It's a GE and it's the electronic fuel electronic ignition, none of this distributor. It's
the one he's been looking for about 2 years.
Yeah.
He's done it. Yes.
When are you going to add the T to it?
Eventually. So here's how.
Is that a promise? Is that a promise?
Here's how.
We're already off topic here.
This is worthwhile. I've bought a GS and everybody knows they wanted to see that. Here's how this goes down, right? The plan was I wanted one as a project because I have a very specific project in my head that I want to do. I haven't really got a place to work on a project and prices of things are going up, as we've covered in our used car thing. And so I thought, well, really, if I'm going to get one, I should get one as a daily because I can daily a car. I may as well do that. And then it can become a project later down the line. So that kind of meant I had to get a nicer one because I don't want one with all the paint peeling off when I'm daily driving it. And one turned up and it was more than what I was wanting to pay for it. But this car is immaculate. Like, the guy has taken such good care of it. And more importantly, he has done everything I wanted to do to it as a daily. It's all there, including a flappy paddle conversion, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a sign that I should just buy that one.
Yeah.
The prices of them are not going to go down. So if I do end up wanting to do the project, I could always sell the really nice one and buy a worse one and take the good bits off the nice one.
Well, so this brings us back nicely at the topic. Topic?
And the topic.
And the topic. And that is the current car market a bubble? And I genuinely think it is.
So,
I
sum that up. Do you think the prices of cars are going to go up or down?
I think now is the perfect time to buy a car on finance if you're not going to swap it out for the next 6 years.
I think normal people cars, as I said at the start, I think normal
Bryn's
people cars is going to go down.
Bryn's doing a face there, working out why I've said that. So why that is, Bryn, is it's a really good time to borrow money from a bank because interest rates are low.
If they'll let you.
Yeah, if they'll let you. Obviously, you've got to pass the test. But if you trade that car in 3 years' time, you'll be in negative equity, i.e. you will owe more than the car is worth. So, but by 6 years, you'll have borrowed that money at a low interest rate and cleared that payment on the car, and the car will have a residual value which you can sell it for. So, because interest rates are low, it's a good time to buy a car with finance because prices are high. It's not a great time to buy cars on finance. So what you really want to do is you want to wait a little bit, wait for the market to start tipping down again, and then buy a car at that point so you end up with the minimum amount of negative equity, but you actually end up borrowing your money really cheaply, and then you keep the car for about 5 years, and then actually you get your money's worth out of that cheap loan.
Go on, Matt. Carry on.
I was going to say, is that actual legit car buying advice? Like, have we actually imparted knowledge out to the world?
That's legit financial advice from me, although I am not.
Yeah.
I would like to caveat that by saying I am not a financial advisor.
Just go full, yeah. Disclaimer. Your money could be lost at the responsible advisor. Scroll across the bottom of the screen really fast.
He's not a financial advisor. Don't listen to him. Right, go out and buy a rusty Peugeot.
To be fair, I think anything you buy in the next few years, if you then sell it again in a few more years, you're gonna make a loss if you're buying it secondhand. However, I think enthusiasts' cars, even stuff like brand new Ford Focus RSs or the new Corolla, I think are going to hold their value more. Because as we discussed last week, I think it was last week, or whenever this goes out compared to that episode, they stopped making fun cars, as it were, around 10, 15 years ago. So there aren't as many second-hand ones. So these more fun cars are going to hold their value for long. Yeah. That's why stuff like the GT86 and the BRZ aren't plummeting, and stuff like the 350Z that they made the whole time didn't really hit the bottom of the market. It bottomed out at about, what, 3-ish, and then started climbing back up again.
Yeah, and that's a perfectly valid point, you know. Well remembered from last time, Matt. Well done. You may give teacher an apple for being the teacher's pet next time around. But what, Milton?
Speaking of 350Zs, I drove one the other week, last weekend.
Okay, let's not dive off topic.
Just saying, it was really surprising, and I actually enjoyed it more than I think I should have.
Did that belong to Jojo by any chance?
No, it was a standard road car. Well, it's a road car with a turbo.
Okay.
And it was really nice to drive.
It was
kind of cool.
They're a nice drive, but anyway, back to topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've driven one, but we'll not go down there. Let's carry on.
Let's try and wrangle this, because we're about halfway into the episode, and these people do not need to hear how awesome a 350Z is to drive. What they need to do is go and find out for themselves, right? Somehow.
Yeah. But don't buy one, because that would be a bad idea right now.
Yeah.
It depends.
Actually, the worst thing you can do right now is be one of those people who wants to change their car every 2 years and go and buy a car brand new on any kind of finance. Because the second you drive it off the parking lot, within its first 12 months on the road, it loses about 20% of its value on average, and you automatically end up in negative equity.
This is what I was going to say. If you want to buy a car and then not sell it for 5 to 10 years, just go and do it. It doesn't make any difference what time you buy that, because you're going to have it so long that you're going to lose more than 50% of the value anyway. If you're going to buy something and then plan to sell it in a year or two, Dave, then don't bother, because in a year's time, it could be worth half as much as you pay for it now.
So the reality of that is actually that I was doing a bit of research, and it's something that most people change their cars after 48 months, so 4 years. Actually, you don't hit a point where you're out of negative equity on a brand new car until about 56 months. Which is why you always, when you go and swap in your car, you have to have that top-up payment, that balloon payment, or you have to take extra money on top of your loan to clear that residual from your previous loan.
Yeah, so that was the position I was in when I was looking at selling the Mazda 6, 6 to 12 months ago. I wasn't quite at negative equity yet.
Positive equity, you mean?
Positive equity, yeah. Or sort of the break-even point, because they were offering... I owed more than the car was worth on trade-in.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, okay, you've got, I think it was about $1,500 to $2,000 difference. I can trade it in and then put that on top of the new finance, and then you've still got to pay it off, or just hang on. In the end, I sold it to a friend for what I was outstanding on the finance not that long ago, but because that's what it was worth on the second-hand car market as opposed to what the dealer's trading you in.
Yeah. And
that's part of shopping around to get the best deal, because even when you sell a car, you've got to shop around for the best deal, not just take whatever the first dealer offers you.
Never trade in, never do we buy any car. No. They will pull your pants down and have their wicked time with you.
He is like crap. Then do you do we buy any car?
No,
it depends.
What they'll do.
No, you sell it to BAM.
No, genuinely, it depends, because obviously I'm now getting rid of the Mondeo and driving the NC daily, and selling a car privately on Auto Trader, Gumtree, Facebook is an absolute pain in the ass. And if you don't have the time, or you don't want to deal with it, you go to We Buy Any Car, or you trade it in at a dealer. That's it, done, one day. It's really easy.
Or you do what I did to Lexus Wolverhampton when I got the CT all those moons ago, when the Punto was in gearboxes like nobody's business. I waited right until the moment it was about to lose another gearbox, and then went and got my shiny new Lexus CT and traded it in for like the maximum book value I could, because it looked clean. I drove off in my new Lexus before they had a chance to test drive it.
Well, that's the other thing, is they take it here quite often. They don't drive it.
I drove it here and I parked it far enough away from it that you didn't hear it grind as I took it out of gear. It's one of those things, right? Like the market is fundamentally probably going to burst at some point. When you cannot buy maximum E5 99 RON fuel, there are a lot of old Japanese cars that you can't drive anymore.
See, that's another good point.
You can drive them on E5, but 97 RON premium and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you put the premium in, then you're fine.
No. So the 97 to the 99, the premium stuff, yeah. But what I'm saying is, eventually you're not going to be able to get that.
But do you think that's going to run out?
So a thought here is, all the people that don't want to do it, can't do it, can't afford to do it, are going to sell their Japanese cars. And you might get the market just flooded with pre-2000 cars that we might hoover up cheap.
It depends entirely what the market does. If that bubble bursts, there will be some people you will get a brief bit where people go, I'm still going to be in profit, so let's get rid of it now. Right? And as the market bursts, you will see my Stagia go up for sale. Guaranteed, 110%. Because
really?
Yeah. Because I paid $6.
Don't you love that car?
I absolutely love it, but I discovered that I've discovered recently that the prices I've been seeing for Stages at around the $8,000 mark that we've assumed that's worth are for standard autos that have been converted to manual, not RS4Ss.
Factory
manual. I am aware of someone who is planning on putting their RS4S on the market that is in slightly better nick than mine for £20,000.
So
yeah, I think this is the whole. I want an R34 GTR. I want an RB26. I can't afford an R34 GTR. What else has got an RB26 in it?
Well, it doesn't. It's an RB25.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Why? Are
you know what I mean, though. They want RB engines, but they don't care what chassis they come in.
Well, actually, to be fair, I think when we get out there and we get the work done on it, and us lot fix up my Stagia, I think it is a very capable chassis. I think actually, the problem I have with that car is the way the suspension geometry was set up by the previous owner, and when we get that camber dialed out and we get the right rating of the springs onto the car, it's going to be a very different beast, because that thing very nearly, other than on a roundabout, kept up with some MX-5s down the twisties on a country lane. And it's just because it's just chucking power at the problem. Like, it's not aerodynamic. It punches its way through the air.
Well, that all comes down to what type of car it is. It does a very different job to what an MX-5 does. Because I've been on track before, and through all the corners, you'll hang on to this faster car in front. I think I got stuck behind a Porsche at Donington.
Yeah.
Through all the corners, I'll catch him up. And you get to the straight where they move over to let you pass. And I'm flat out and I can't pass it because he's not lifted off to let me pass. And then I catch him up through all the corners again.
I'd be very keen to just see, out of curiosity, what it's like sort of Milton's 5 versus my Stagia down a drag strip. I think that
we're all gonna have to go down to a drag strip day, aren't we?
Dear Santa Pod, can we have a play if we say Santa Pod a lot in an episode? It's worth a try. Leave a comment in the description, Santa Pod, if you're willing to let us just come down and play for free for a day.
We did get off topic very quickly there.
We did, but we've kind of discussed
himself again.
The market is fundamentally at some point gonna pop.
It always does. The housing market did it. What? 2008.
2008. Just about every market going absolutely itself.
Yeah,
that's when I left school.
All right, you 12-year-old.
That's just just before I left school, because I was offered an apprenticeship, but then the recession hit and screwed everything.
That's the thing. Everything increases in value to a point, and then it crashes. Because even Bitcoin did that. It shot up and then it just dropped straight back down again. Not as far as it started.
My lesson about bubbles, right? And I know you boys all finished school around then. I was working during 2008, and we all know I work in sales, and this is why I know a lot about finance and stuff like that. But the worst bit about 2008 was closing a deal with someone and a week later that company being bust and you losing your sale and you're not getting commission. And then I reached a point where the company I was working for, the money was coming in enough to keep everybody in their jobs, but I had to make a decision and turn around and say, look, don't pay me my commission, because if they paid me my commission, there wasn't enough to cover everybody else's salaries. That's how bad 2008 was for a bubble burst for some companies. Like, people your guys' age don't get how bad a market crash that was. The good news is we relatively recovered before Brexit and COVID.
I was going to say COVID did a very similar thing to some places. Even with furlough schemes, some places just didn't survive.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming out of that, and the reality is because we're coming out of that, people are starting to think a little bit sensibly, and there was an element of, I'm not going to use my car, so I'll sell it right at the beginning of the pandemic.
I think that's still going to be around. So this is an interesting thing, because obviously I've moved roles within the same company, and now I'm working from home permanently, apart from one day a month.
Yeah.
And that means I can have the MX-5 as my daily, because I'm not going anywhere every day. Yeah. Now, I've had a conversation with a friend today whose company's done the same thing. So he's only going into the office once a month, which means he's bought a turbo MX-5.
I'd like to caveat what Matt's saying by saying there are roles where you will always be required to be in the office. Certainly, no.
Yeah, absolutely. There are jobs out there that are going to go back to the office full time.
No.
But what I'm saying is there are some roles that are now going to stay at home.
Yeah.
No responsible manager of my kind of team, which is like telemarketing, telesales, is going to say to people, work from home. You don't need the atmosphere. You don't need that camaraderie. You know, that kind of thing. If you do that to people, that's going to really, really up some people's mental health. You know,
it solely depends on the type of job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think this has then pushed the enthusiast market again, because my friends just bought a Turbo MX-5. I bought my NC because I can have them as my daily / project. And it means I can go and change all the suspension on the NC, and I can take 30 days to do it, because that's how long I've got between driving into the office.
That's nice. I would also like to say, though, your friend that's bought a Turbo MX-5, he did replace a V8 for it. He already had a full daily, okay? It wasn't like he's gone, I can buy an MX-5 instead of my Peugeot.
So anyway, so like, let's end the first half of this episode, or wherever this ends up being cut, by saying the bubble will absolutely burst at some point. It's not a question of if, it is a question of when. If the market keeps pushing prices up and up and up and up and up and up and up, it's going to go wrong. Now is a good time to buy a car on finance as a long-term investment. However, like, you need to make sure that you get past that negative equity point in your loan, because actually some cars are still dropping in value. Not everything's going up. Do your homework. do your research. Make sure before you buy it, if you're going to buy for the sake of an investment. And yes, Bryn, I agree. It is somewhat soulless, even though I would do it myself.
I would say actually now, if you're in positive equity and you've got a car on finance, go and refinance it and get something else. Because you're gonna get a good price for your car on the second-hand market now, even as a trade-in. And then, like you say, you're gonna get a good deal.
But you will be paying over the odds for whatever you replace your car with. That's the other side of that coin. So you've got to do some very serious maths.
Yeah, you've got to pick. I think you've got to pick which car you choose to replace it with very carefully.
So anyway,
cars, I'm just jumping in because I know nothing about fairly new cars.
Okay, start that again, Bryn. Sorry.
I can't remember where I started.
You were talking about positive
negative information.
Yeah.
i20s.
The only thing I know, right, is somebody I work with. He bought a Hyundai i20N just before COVID hit. And he was like, I can afford a nice car on finance. I'm going to treat myself, get this i20N. Then he shit himself when COVID hit and thought it was all going to go wrong. But a year later, that car is worth more than he bought it for by quite a considerable amount.
Right.
And he's now in profit by about $6 or $7 grand by selling that car back to the dealer.
Yeah. So what's going on there is when COVID hit, the car manufacturers went, well, shit, we ain't going to sell anything new for a while because no one can go to a dealership, no one can test drive. You know, not everybody sells cars like Tesla just online, right?
Was this the same time of the chip shortage and silica?
I think it's all coincidentally happened at once.
Yeah. So then what you get is they stop ordering chips about 18 months ago. Yeah.
Because you have to order in advance. But you can order in 12 to 18 months in advance.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, the video games industry, which uses the same silica, fundamentally similar chipsets, everybody's at home, they ramp up their ordering. And they're ordering months in advance. So your graphics card price is still going up because everybody wants one because everyone's stuck at home. But you don't have enough chips for the car market who suddenly go, oh, we can make and sell cars again. So one of the reasons you've got this increase in value of brand new cars off the lot, which, by the way, that bubble will absolutely burst within the next 12 months unless we have COVID-20 or some sort of disaster that means that we can't produce new cars anymore.
The fundamental problem is dealers are trying to find cars to sell.
Yeah.
So they're buying them at overinflated prices so they have something to sell.
Yeah, and really interestingly, actually, I heard tell of something going on in Japan recently. So used car dealers in Japan that want to see a continuing rise in prices of things like Skylines are buying them, then selling them at auction to a company that belongs to someone who somehow knows them at a higher price, waiting a couple of weeks, then that car will return back to auction and be bought back by the original company at an even higher price. And it forces inflation in the market because what people think is that's what the cars are selling for.
That's how the car market works. You'll see, say, an MX-5 will be set up for $2 grand, for example, for a Mark 1, and somebody will go, well, mine's nicer than that, must be worth more, so they put it up at 2.5, and then everybody bumps up a little bit, and then somebody goes, well, mine's better than that one, mine must be worth 3, and then they put it up for 3 and go, well, mine's got a turbo on it, and I spent at least $2 grand on that kit, must be worth 6.
Yeah, and
it just keeps creeping up.
There's a really important point about that, right? And that is, if you are the guy on Facebook Marketplace who turns around to someone and goes, that MX-5's only worth £500, right? You, sir, are a colossal bell end.
You are a great person.
No, you're not. You're not there,
So I think what's happening here is what you're seeing on Facebook is exactly what Bryn said about the S13s and everything. But Bryn's not a doesn't put it on your for sale post.
But the reality is the MX-5 is a good car, right? It is a classic. It is a collector's piece. And there is now a dwindling resource of MX-5s because people like Milton love to smash them into a wall.
Actually, out of the three of us, I'm the one that's been through the most MX-5s.
Okay, so
I'm on my second one ever.
I'm on my first one still, so I have the right to judge you all from my great and mighty throne.
My first one was...
and my first one has both of its sills.
Oh.
Ouch. Mine's hidden my side skirts, alright?
I've scrapped at least 3.
You're the problem!
No. So one of them was crashed. That wasn't me. I bought it already written off. Right. I pilfered it for parts, some of which ended up in your turbo car, and then scrapped it. The first one I bought was already rusty when I bought it, and at the time, it wasn't worth anything. So I scrapped it and bought another one because it was cheaper. Then that one got rusty and I scrapped it. In fact, I've scrapped 4 because the donor supercharged car was also rusty, and I only wanted the engine, so I pinched the engine and scrapped it.
So anyway, back to my point, right? You have a dwindling resource, and therefore it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. Don't get stuck in your nostalgic fact that 5 years ago when I bought an R Limited, I could pick them up for 500 quid, right? We live in the real world now where that R Limited is worth 8 grand, and in fact, really interestingly, I saw my first ever white R Limited in the flesh on Wednesday night. And
how much did they try and sell it for?
It's not how much they tried to sell it for, mate. It's how much I overheard they bought it for.
Oh.
There was 5 figures.
It was, in fact, a 5-figure number.
It's like, you know that company that's got a really big reputation for selling really expensive but pristine low mileage cars.
Yeah.
They had a Berkeley up for sale with 1,905 miles for £22,000.
Yep. And that will
Fair game, right? If it's a special edition MX-5, and I mean an actual special edition, not the bull special editions.
Like the V-Spec.
Fair enough, you can sell it for that much. If you have a poverty spec UK MX-5, it will be worth £500 until the end of time. Stop it. The cheap ones should remain cheap and where they belong.
So, ladies and gentlemen, in other news, Bryn's MX-5 is now up for sale, £50,000.
I'm not going to sell it because it's a cheap car to have fun. I like a 1.2 Nova is not worth 12 grand. It's a Nova. Stop it.
Bryn.
Not even a good one.
Bryn, are you telling me, right, if I turned up tomorrow with some kid who was willing to give you 50 grand for your car, right? Genuinely willing to just hand over 50 grand. I've not picked on them, forced them to do it or anything. You wouldn't take that money and run and build another one.
Of course I would, but that's morally wrong. That's morally wrong. I'd be very angry that happened. They should just remain.
Actually, I think what would happen is they'd walk up to you and go, I'm going to give you 50 grand for your car. And you'd go, what's wrong with you?
I don't think he would. I think...
Oh, he absolutely would. That's exactly what he's like.
I could build you one for less.
Yeah, I'd take the money, but all I'm saying is that that's not how it should be.
No, you'd ask him what's wrong. What's wrong? You'd say, what's wrong with you?
So, wait, no. Really importantly, ladies and gentlemen, what you've heard there is, for all the times that Bryn has called my capitalist self a right?
Wow, dropping the C-bomb.
Well, he has. He's called me on multiple occasions. There's a whole episode that's full of bleeps, and every single one of those bleeps was Bryn calling me a right?
So many bleeps in this one.
Because, on the fundamental grounds of it, I am a that will make money out of anything I can make money out of. Right? And the reality of that is, Bryn, turns out you're just a little bit of a too.
Hey, we all are. That's the problem with humans. I suppress the as best I can.
Yeah, the problem
for a revolution of car socialism where there are always cheap fun cars for poor people to buy and rich people can buy stupid low mileage exceptions.
And that's why the Nissan Micra exists.
That's not a cheap fun car. It's just
a car.
Fun. No, they are fairly fun.
It's just a cheap car.
They are fun though.
They are fun.
And anything's fun if you drive it properly.
Yeah.
Sounds like my ex.
Just waiting for something to hit him in the head there.
Yeah, I know it does. I was hoping he was just suddenly going to get taken out.
So, circling back to the used car market, if you can't afford what you want, buy anything and drive it properly.
No, that is settling. Don't settle for things. Have a bloody vision, have some bloody passion, and graft your ass off until you bought the bloody car.
I can't afford an R34 GTR or an FD RX-7.
You can if you work hard enough.
So I settled for an FC and I'm much happier.
That is wrong. If you can't afford what you want, sit on your ass and get really fucking angry about it until you buy a GS300 instead.
Or work your ass off and then buy everything you want.
That sounds like boring money.
Right, so in the meantime, while you're working your ass off, how are you getting to work to work your ass off?
In any one of my 3 cars, because I've been working my ass off since I was 16. Get do one, I win.
So, really. if you guys have enjoyed the episode, make sure to hit like and subscribe.
Don't ruin the middle of a 3-way rant, Milton.
And the discount for Violent Running this week is OK Boomer.
Qualifying purchases apply. Terms and conditions.
The discount this week is OK Boomer. And it only applies to one product on the website. And we're not going to tell you which one. And it only works once. Right, anyway. Back after that whooshy thing. Continuing the rant. Don't listen to anyone, right? This is a really important thing, like, guys. Don't listen to anyone who tells you,
including you.
Don't listen to anyone who tells you to settle for second best. If you've got something you want, work hard. If you don't get it, happens. Buy the next best thing. But I promise you, if you grab hard enough with enough determination, you can get what you want. And I'm telling you that as a kid that was born and grew up on a council estate and already has 2 of his dream cars.
I mean, you're missing my point. But
I'm not.
You are. You're completely missing my point because you didn't let me finish and talked over me.
I'm not missing your point. I get what you're saying about buy something else and enjoy it, but I'm saying if you've got a dream, go after it.
That's still not my point, but.
Gay boomer.
Bryn's just jealous because he can't grow a proper beard.
Yeah, that's because your generation stole all the testosterone from mine. All we've got left is terrible used car prices and girly haircuts.
What's my excuse then?
It'll all be alright, boys. Look. The moral of this week's episode is you're all
Yeah.
There we go. That's more like it.
Get into motorbikes instead. They're cheaper and you can die a lot quicker on them for less money.
So what's the moral of this story? Buy a motorbike instead, and when that bubble crashes, just drive off a cliff.
I mean,
the moral of this week is buy a bike and die quicker.
Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper too.
You can have a lot more fun for a lot less time, and that is something you can afford to do.
I feel like we need to get some sort of motorcyclist on.
I have a friend.
There's already one on here.
Germany. It is time for us to phone the German.
I mean, Bryn had a bike.
I'll talk to the...
got one.
Milton.
Look at him with his Power Ranger nonsense.
It's like 50% of the people on this call have a bike.
Milton.
I had a bike.
Milton.
Yes.
Why are you showing all the sports fans your special glove for having a in?
In fact,
that's my left
Van,
hand.
you had a bike at one point, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm the only person on here that's not had a bike.
And look how not dead he is.
I did nearly die.
If I had a bike, I'd be dead within the year.
Exactly.
You've seen how I drive a car.
Yeah.
Badly.
All right. Anyway, before we descend into complete and utter chaos, he's been Milton.
Tools.
He's been Brent. He has been Matthew Graham Esquire.
Esquire.
Promotion.
Up and bam. We'll see you later. Catch you on the next episode. Go watch some videos of shows. And Matt's got a special video for you soon where he does some tinkering on the NC. Bye-bye.
Oh my God, I need a wee.